Hi there everyone, I'm Liv, if you don't remember me, and I am going to be giving a quick lesson on the history of the RAF. Alright, so the learning objectives for today are to learn how the RAF was founded, to learn other key events in the RAF's timeline up until the Battle of Britain, and to have enough knowledge to allow you to pass this module in your Part 1 exam. This is the first section of the timeline on the screen here. So, in April 1911, an air battalion of the British Army's Royal Engineers was formed at Larkhall in Wiltshire. So I should say that the main points are on the actual PowerPoint, and I'm just going to put an extra little bit of information. You can never know too much. And then in December 1911, the British Navy formed the Royal Naval Flying School at Eastchurch in Kent. Okay. And then in May 1912, both were absorbed into the newly created Royal Flying Corps, which established a new flying school up Avon, Wiltshire, and formed new airplane squadrons. Alright, so that is one of the key names that you need to remember, the Royal Flying Corps. In July 1914, the specialised requirements of the Navy led to the creation of the RNAS. Alright. And then on April the 1st, 1918, the RAF is formed as an amalgamation of the Royal Flying Corps and the Royal Naval Air Service, the RNAS. Alright. And the Women's RAF was also formed on April the 1st, 1918, which is what WRAF stands for. During World War I, members of the Women's Royal Naval Service and the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps worked on air stations belonging to the Royal Flying Corps and the Royal Naval Air Service, and that was what made up the majority of the Women's RAF. So here are a couple of key figures of the early RAF. You may get asked about Sir Hugh Boom Trenchard. We all just remember him as Boom Trenchard, it's quite an easy name to remember, and he was the first Air Chief Marshal, which is one of the key positions in the RAF. You'll learn more about ranks in the weeks to come, okay? So, on to the next section of the timeline. On the 24th of March 1919, the first group of WRAFs arrived in France to begin their overseas service. They were employed as domestics, clerks, telephonists, nurses and drivers, and they also staged sports days and dances, so as you can see, they weren't exactly as important as the regular RAF. Alright, so that's not something that you really need to know. I just thought it was quite nice to understand the roles that women played in the early RAF as well. So then, on the 4th of August 1919, the present rank titles were introduced into the RAF by the Air Ministry organisation. So as I said, you will learn a lot more about rank titles in the coming weeks. On October the 23rd, 1919, the RAF Benevolent Fund is founded by Lord Trenchard, who's that guy that we mentioned earlier, which focuses on looking after all serving and former members of the RAF as well as their partners and dependent children. On March the 9th, 1925, the RAF becomes involved in its first independent air action in India. On May the 1st, the rebel leaders sought an honourable peace and the short campaign known as Pink's War came to a close. Alright. Then, on October the 29th, 1925, the Observer Corps, the Royal Observer Corps, so they fit in with the whole, Royal Air Force name, was formed to collect and report movement of hostile and friendly aircraft. It comprised mainly of civilian volunteers. Okay. The prototype of the Spitfire, that is onto the next slide. So this, again, is not something that's that important, but I thought it was a nice extra bit of information. So the prototype of the Spitfire flew for the first time on March the 5th, 1936, although the first Mark I was not delivered to the 19 Squadron at RAF Duxford, which was where the first one was sent, until August the 4th, 1938, 2 years later. Designed by Reginald Joseph Mitchell, the Spitfire became one of the most successful fighter aircraft ever built. By September 1939, 10 Spitfire squadrons were operational, because it was such a good plane, and 19 were ready to engage the Luftwaffe during the Battle of Britain. The Spitfire was championed as the most effective fighter during this period. The RAF flew its last operational Spitfire on April the 1st, 1954, so it lasted for an incredibly long time. Commanded by Air Vice Marshal Owen Tudor Boyd, the RAF Balloon Command was formed on the 1st of November 1938 to control all UK-based barrage balloon units during World War II. On April the 24th, 1940, the Air Council established a technical branch within the RAF for officers employed on engineering, signals and armament duties. So, on the 4th of June 1940, 316,663 troops, including 123,095 troops, French troops, were evacuated from Dunkirk in order to allow Project Dynamo to go through. So there have been lots of movies about that. Good movies as well. So this is the big one, okay? This is the thing that you always get asked about, the Battle of Britain. The Battle of Britain occurred between the 10th of July and the 31st of October 1940. The RAF successfully defended Britain against 2,550 German and Italian planes, despite having far fewer planes and pilots. These men then became known as the Few. Alright, so that is the main bit. If we go to the next slide, it has a little quiz here. So it is, put these events in the correct order. Alright, I'll give you a minute or so to maybe write that down. Grab a piece of paper, write your answers on there. I have realised that you can cheat very, very easily, but don't. Keep your integrity for the sake of learning. Alright, wonderful. And as soon as you're done with that, you can check your answers on the next slide as well. Alright, so you can have a listen back to this. Make sure that you learn all of the key points that are on the timeline. Thank you very much. Woo!